Good morning, welcome to discuss research methodology. And today we're looking at Module 1, which is Introduction to Research and Academic Career Development, looking at foundation of scholarly inquiry. Now, by way of module content, we'll be covering the following content. We'll be looking at the meaning, nature, purpose of research in the academia and society. We'll be looking at the importance of research in knowledge creation and problem solving. We'll be looking at the types of research across disciplines. We'll also be looking at overview of the research process from idea to publication. We'll be looking at identification of research problems from real-world issues and literature. We'll also be covering research gaps and justification of a study. We'll be looking at formulation of research objectives, research questions, and research hypotheses. We'll be looking at significance, scope, and limitations of research study. We'll also be looking at building a career as an academic writer and researcher. We will also be covering research ethics, integrity, and responsible research conduct. We'll be covering the roles of researchers in university, research institute, and industry. Then lastly, we'll be looking at the conclusion. Now, by way of introduction, what is research? Research is this is a systematic quest for knowledge. Now, by proper definition, research is an organized methodological inquiry to discover, interpret, and revise facts, theories, and applications. So, research is just like the name implies, research is searching what have been searched before. So, it is an organized inquiry to discover something that somebody has discovered before, to revise it, the fact, the theories, and the applications. Now, what are some of the key characteristics of a research? It is systematic and logical, it is empirical based, that is evidence based, then it is replicable and it is objective. The core purpose of research is to answer meaningful questions through rigorous investigation. Why research matters? Research is the engine of progress and problem solving. Research creates new knowledge, it expands human understanding across fields. Research solves real world problems in health, environment, technology, and society. It informs policy and practices, provides evidence for decision making. Research drives innovation, leads to new technology, treatment, and solutions. Research transforms curiosity into impact. Now, what are some of the types of research that we have? Research is classified according to purpose and to approach. Now, by purpose, research is either basic pure or applied or it is in action. Now, when you say research is classified by purpose under pure basic, it means that it advances knowledge, e.g., particle physics. That kind of research is known as a pure purpose research. Then we also have applied purpose research. This solves practical problems. That is, e.g., a research to discover a new drug or a new drug development. Then we have action research. This improves professional practices, e.g., classroom teaching strategy. So this is an action purpose research. Then what we have by approach, research can also be classified by approach. We have quantitative approach, qualitative approach, and mixed methods approach. Now, quantitative approach uses numbers, statistics, and surveys, but a qualitative uses perceptions, meaning, experiences, and interview, while the mixed method combines both of them. Now, when we talk about quantitative research, this uses second data, already existing data, to run any analysis, anything you are doing, you are using data that are already provided for you. But qualitative, you have to use your perception. You have to use questionnaires, you have to interview surveys, experiences of people to gather this data. Now let's look at the research process. Let's look at the journey from idea to publication. So what do you do when you want to go through research? Number one, you have to identify a research problem, like what people did that they could not finish up. So you have to look at these works, identify the gaps. They're also called gaps. Identify the gaps in those work, then start yours. Two, You conduct literature review in the sense that you have to conduct a conceptual review, empirical review, then you now look at the review of theory that have been done on that work that you're about to embark on. Then three, you develop questions and your hypothesis that you aim to answer with this research. Then the hypothesis you aim to test. Then four, you develop your methodology. This is like the skeleton of your research work. Five, you collect data. Six, you analyze the data. Seven, you interpret and discuss your findings. Then eight, you publish and you disseminate this article. Now, how do you find your research problem? Have a step-by-step approach. First, let's have sources of research questions. Where do you get research questions from? You have real-world issues. Right, is practical challenge in your field or communities. We have literature gaps. That is unexplored areas on contradictions in existing literature. I said that before. Then testing, theory testing or extension. That is applying theories to new context, personal and professional experiences. This is your unique observation. What you have noticed in the world that you want to like research on. This is the personal and professional experience. Then emerging trends, societal, technological, or global shifts. You turn your observation into investigation. What makes a good research problem? We have the ROAD criteria. Now let's start with the R. What is the R? What makes a good problem is the fact that number one, it must be researchable. That means you can find articles, you can find work on it. It can be studied empirically with evidence. You must be able to find evidence quickly with this research that you're about to go on. Two, it must be original. That means it must add knowledge or perspective to the society or to the academia, to the regulatory world, to the industry. It must be original. You must know, you must pass plagiarism. You must not go and plagiarize somebody's work. Three, it must be aligned. It must match your skills, resources you have, and your time that you have. Don't go and do a research that you don't have the needed skills, you don't even have the resources, or you don't have the time to do. Then lastly, it must be defined. That means it must be clear, specific, and well scoped. Then it must be significant and ethical. It must matter to others and it must minimize harm. This is like a plus. Now, let's go from problem to plan. Let's look at research objectives, the question, and the hypothesis, what they are. Now, what are research objectives? These are clear goals. That is what you aim to achieve. This is usually done in your chapter one of your project research. An example is to identify factors influencing employee retention. Let's say, for example, you are studying determinants of employee retention. One of your research questions would be to identify factors influencing employee retention. Now let's look at research question. This is a specific inquiry. Carve that from your research objectives. Your research from research questions rather. Your research questions are in question form. This is the statement form. What you seek to answer. For example, what factors influence employee retention in tech startups? Now let's look at hypothesis. Hypothesis, these are what you aim to test and run your analysis on. Testable predictions, expected relationships. Example, flexible work arrangement positively impact retention intentions. These core form the architect of the study you aim to do. And let's look at the heart of your proposal. Because chapter 1 to 3 in the project is actually called a proposal. Now let's look at the heart of it. The heart is the significance, the scope, and the limitations. Now let's look at the significance. The significance is why your research matters, theoretically, practically, and socially. Scope is the boundaries of your study. That is the content, you have the geographical scope, population, your temporal scope, which is your time scope. Then we have limitations. This acknowledges constraints, methodological, resources, generalizability, and all. This is part is covered in. And these are usually found in chapter one. Now be clear and honest. This strengthens your work. Now, let's look at the ethical foundation in research. Let's look at the characteristics of a responsible research conduct. Number one is honesty, objectivity, integrity, and carefulness. Two, it protects participants. Informed consent, confidentiality, minimizing harm. Then three, avoid misconduct, no fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. Don't copy somebody else's work. Three, manage data, secure, accurate, and transparent handling. Ethics is non-negotiable when it comes to research. And how do you build a research career? Let's have some of the pathways here. We have typical pathways: graduate studies to postdoctorate, to be the grad assistant, to be an associate prof, to be a full prof. What are some of the skills you need? You need methodological competence, you need academic writing and communication, you need project management, you need collaboration and networking. Then build your portfolio. Make sure you publish, you present, and you secure grants and mentorship. Now, where do researchers work? They work in universities, institute, and industry. Now let's look at the settings, focus, and the key features. Universities, they work on research, teaching, services. This is the focus of research. The key features here is intellectual freedom, long-term project. For research institute, it is dedicated research, mission-driven, collaborative resources. For industry, it is applied research and development. It's product-based, it is faster pace and all. Now, by way of conclusion, what are some of the key takeaways in this module? Research is a systematic process for creating knowledge and solving problems. Start with a clear, significant, and researchable problem. Design your study with aligned objective, questions, and ethical standards. Acknowledge scope and limitations transparently. Build a career through skill development, publishing, and collaboration. You now have the foundation to begin. So that will be all for Module 1. I will see you in Module 2.